Yo, what's going on, people? It's your boy Hard8, the truth for YouTube, your favorite commentator's favorite commentator. Yeah, what's up, people? What's happening? You already know the deal. If you missed my last video, go check it out. The link is down below, and all that other good stuff is down below, so definitely go check it out. You dig? Now, so remember the other day when we did our review, me, Jack, Move, Johnny, and BG? Remember when we did our review for the PlayStation experience? And I told y'all that I felt like that conference was designed to show off indie games, smaller games, and smaller announcements, right? Remember I told y'all that because otherwise these smaller games and smaller announcements would have got lost in the sauce at big events like E3. You know what I mean? Remember I told y'all that? Well, it seems that I was right on the money. I said I was right on the money. Because Yoshida has come out and said that pretty much that's exactly what it was for. All year they had a plan on what they wanted to cover at each conference. So for instance, Paris Games and E3 was for big announcements, but the PlayStation experience was to show off the indie games and pretty small announcements and things like that. Yeah, they had some big announcements, not really huge announcements, but yeah, they showed off a little bit of Uncharted 4 or whatever like that. But the main purpose of the PlayStation Network was to show off smaller games and give smaller announcements a time to shine, because like I said, normally they would get lost in the sauce. You dig what I'm saying? So, Yoshida pretty much said that, listen, everybody's expectations were wrong. You know what I mean? We all assumed that we was going to get these big announcements like God of War 4 and things like that, but that's just not what the conference was designed for. That was not the purpose of the conference. So, with that being said, do you think PlayStation experience was a failure? Now, me personally, I didn't like the conference. A lot of us didn't enjoy the conference at all because we all assumed that we were going to get a lot of big announcements. You know what I mean? But we didn't. Sony set out to do something, and I feel like for what they set out to do, they definitely accomplished that. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, now that you know exactly what PlayStation Experience was meant to do your feelings about it change? Being that you know now that it was meant to be a conference to show off smaller titles and give smaller announcements a time in the spotlight. You understand? Because when you look at the conference, they showed a lot of games. You know, regardless of how you feel about these games, they showed a lot of games. One thing for sure, two things for certain. There's a lot of games that's going to be released for the PlayStation 4 in 2016. Once again, whether you like them or not, there is a lot of games. I just want to speak on this video right quick. I did that fucking taunt by accident and got my ass killed. I couldn't break out of the goddamn taunt. I didn't do that on purpose to show off. I hit the, up on the D-pad by accident. Whatever. Just wanted to clear that up. People, oh, you was taunting and got killed. I was not trying to taunt. That was an accident. Anyway, regardless of how you feel about these games, there are a lot of games coming out in 2016 for the PlayStation 4. There's a lot of AAA games coming out. There's a lot of big titles coming out, along with a lot of indie games. You understand what I'm saying? That's the thing about PlayStation. They got games for everybody. Not just for you or me, but for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And that's probably one of the reasons why they are, dominating this generation. Now, of course, like always, the X-Fags are definitely celebrating over this, over the PlayStation experience. I have seen comments saying that PlayStation is doomed. PlayStation is done. They're really starting to show their true colors, this, that, and the third. I mean, at the end of the day, why do you X-Fags think that all of a sudden so many people are just going to jump ship because of one conference not being up to par? I mean, if you take the conference for what it was, then they delivered. But if you take the conference for what we all assumed it was supposed to be, then yeah, they didn't deliver. But they delivered on what they set out to deliver on. You know what I mean? But why do y'all think just because one conference was bad that all of a sudden everybody's going to start selling their PlayStation 4s and it's over for PlayStation? They just had a big Black Friday, they just did it big this Black Friday, just like, the Xbox One. I don't understand why do people think that all of a sudden it's over for PlayStation because they had one conference that you might not agree with. I mean, of course you X-Fags ain't going to agree with any goddamn conference that the PlayStation does, but I really don't get it. You know what I'm saying? I really don't get it. It's not over, people. I mean, do you realize that there's only a small minority of people that actually tune into these conferences, that's on these articles every day, that read these articles every day, that's checking out YouTube videos? That's only a small minority compared to the world. Most people don't know that conference even took place. And a lot of people that know it took place didn't even watch it. You know what I mean? When you sell 30 million consoles, you better believe that the only people that's really doing what we do are the super hardcore gamers that's going to our websites and checking shit out and all of that shit. Most people don't do that, yo. You know what I mean? We're a small minority of fucking nerds that partake in this shit. They don't know nothing about no console wars. They don't know nothing about the doom and gloom articles. They don't know nothing about that shit. It's only a small minority when it comes to the grand scheme of things. You feel what I'm saying? So it's calm down, You also had people that want to blame Sony. They said that they hyped up this conference. So it's only right that people would assume that some big titles were going to be there. And yes, they absolutely did hype up the conference. But why are you surprised? Of course they're going to hype up the goddamn conference. They're trying to sell products and they're trying to get people to watch. That goes without saying. You know what I mean? Any company that's trying to sell something is going to hype up their product more than it actually is, or hype up their product to levels that it actually doesn't reach. You understand what I'm saying? The same way Microsoft hyped up the greatest lineup ever. You knew that was a fucking lie. You know what I'm saying? It was nowhere near the greatest lineup. Out of all the games, there was only one game that was really successful, and that was Halo 5. You understand what I'm saying? Other than that, the rest of the lineup was, I like Gears of War. Gears of War is my shit. But let's be real. Most people didn't like it, and they don't even play that shit no more. Gears of War is dead. You know what I'm saying? And it's only been a couple of months. It ain't even 6 months old, and it's already, dead. You know what I mean? The only people that's really playing it is the OGs and, the hardcore. But, all of the new people that try to get into Gears, they abandoned that shit fast as fuck. Motherfuckers felt it was too repetitive. It's just shotguns, and it does have a learning curve. But regardless, all I'm saying is this. Every company is going to hype up something that they got going on, even if it's not fucking true. So, yeah, they hyped up PlayStation Experience, but it would have been nice if they would have just told us exactly what it was aimed at. You know what I mean? They would have just been yeah, this is all about indies getting some shine and smaller announcements getting some attention. If they would have just said that, then we wouldn't have went in there with expectations of, a God of War 4 or some other shit that we thought could happen. You know what I mean? But I thought the conference was garbage. That doesn't really change anything. But I just wanted to ask y'all, how did y'all feel now knowing that their intentions were to show off these indies and give smaller announcements some shine? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. You know what I mean? They accomplished what they set out to do. But I just think it's just funny how people it's over for PlayStation. The tides are starting to change and all of that shit. PlayStation is still going to continue to outsell the Xbox One worldwide. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, the Xbox One will maybe get a month here and there in the U.S. You know what I mean? But you know what's funny, man? The only time that the Xbox One can actually win a month in the U.S. is when that motherfucker is on sale. That's the only time people are willing to buy an Xbox One. When it's on sale. That's it. Because when it's not on sale, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4. Only time people are like, you know what? Okay, now I'll get it. Is when that bitch is on sale. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not a bad console, but people do not want to pay for it unless it's on sale. The only time that the Xbox One wins a month is when it's severely discounted. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. Has your opinion changed now that you know exactly what Sony set out to do with the PlayStation experience? Me personally, I mean, from Sony point of view, I guess it was a success. From my point of view, and assuming that it was going to be more, you know, it was a fucking failure. You know what I'm saying? It was a goddamn failure. But, yeah, it's not the end. It's not the end. It's only, we just getting started. 2016 is packed with fucking games on both consoles. On both consoles. But I think PlayStation will have more releases just because they got a lot more exclusives that's coming and things like that overall. Whether you like them or not. Whether they're indie or AAA, they're still coming. So, let me know what y'all think down in the comments. This your boy Hard8. I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here, man.